Hello Aquarius, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for December for the Sun or the Ascendant. Now I'm going to give you a broad overview of what you can expect, but then please stay with me. I will dive deep to give you a really detailed forecast. Now your two ruling planets of Saturn and Uranus have spent much of 2021 in conflict. Now that's affected many of us, but particularly anyone who is a fixed zodiac sign. So in turn that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio and of course Aquarius. And this is because fixed signs are very much to do with a singularity of purpose, a steadfastness, a sticking at things for the longer term. And Uranus is very much about changing things up. And it's located in the sign of Taurus, where it's at its weakest. So this is known as being in its fall. So Taurus is particularly allied to persistence and being very consistent. So Uranus here creates tension anyway. Now Saturn, the other traditional ruler of Aquarius, has of course been in the sign of Aquarius. Now Saturn moving through the first solar house can offer real opportunities. But one of the things that it does demand of that transit is for us to narrow our focus, to not be spreading ourselves too thinly. But Saturn is of course about traditionality, structures, maintaining our boundaries and being very responsible in our approach. Uranus is that more progressive, live wire, changeable side of Aquarius people's nature, because there is a duality to most Aquarian folk. So the conflict between these two started to come back into focus as November came to a close. And all through this month, they're closing up. And then on Christmas Eve, they become exactly 90 degrees square. So if there has been any tensions around balancing what you need for yourself, the individual, and where you live, who you live with or how you live there, or anything to do with a property matter, it could come up again this month. But I must reassure you that it's also the case that the more difficult planetary aspects occur, the more we kind of work them out. So this is the last pass. By the end of February, it's all done. The only thing is for us Aquarius people is that during our solar returns in our natal horoscopes, we're likely to get a little bit of a taste of this aspect in those, which can provide a backdrop for next year, but the influence will diminish as the year goes on for most people. Now the other thing to tell you is the Sun is in the glorious Sagittarius, very much to do with sociability, friendship, collectivity, networking, all the things that Aquarius people can be very strong at. And it's also linking with Saturn in the first 4 days of the month. So that's terrific. So that embraces the new moon, which begins on the 4th. And finally, the other tremendous piece of news is that Jupiter, the planet of growth that's in the sign of Aquarius, links very fortunately with the Sun from the 16th to the 21st. So that can be especially positive when it comes to setting future goals, realizing some hopes, connecting to people in a very, very special and helpful way. Now, if you're new to my channel, I would be honored if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. This means every time I drop a video, you'll get an alert. Also, if you'd like to get your free written daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, please click on the link below. I've been writing these for over 25 years. I think I'm a bit unique amongst YouTube astrologers for doing this type of work. And I write for Britain's most read daily newspaper and for some major platforms around the world. Also, with year 2022 just around the corner, if you want to get your forecast based on your personal astrology for next year, you can do so. Get the rest of 21 free and a character analysis and 30% off. Please see the link beneath this video. This will give you searing insights into what to expect, but equally see you embrace opportunities but avoid some pitfalls. Hello Aquarius, and welcome to your in-depth forecast for December for the Sun or the Ascendant. So late in November, Saturn and Uranus, your two co-rulers, came back into, within 3 degrees, a right angle, a square. And by Christmas Eve, they are going to be exact. Now this is the third pass of the exact hit between them. The first was in February, the second in May, I believe, and now this one. It's because Uranus is still in retrograde, but Saturn has sped up again. That's why we're getting the repetition. What I feel happens with difficult aspects, and this has been perhaps the most challenging aspect of the whole year for many people, is that we kind of get a hang of them the more they occur. But this one suggests that if there has been an issue about where you live, who you live with, how you live there, it's a property matter, a family issue, you felt cramped, or there's been some kind of limitation, or you felt very restless, then I do feel it's going to be resolved to a much greater degree by the end of February next year. So that's something to really look forward to. But it is going to be around this month. But also, as this month begins, so Neptune, the planet of dreams, which has been in your sector of everyday money since 2012, that's been twisting backwards since the last week of June. And that comes to an end. And if there has been confusion around your life foundations or cash, that can start to be clarified. Actually, Neptune forges a terrific link to Venus, Pluto and Mars across the first week. Speaking of Mars, Venus and Pluto, they're also linking very helpfully through to the 10th. Now Mars is in a very positive part of your situation as this month begins, one which is a lot to do with authority, self-confidence and an ability to take on responsibility. But you can also do things behind the scenes. Your ability to be quite subtle in the way you go about things, show a great deal of diplomacy, keep confidences, is going to be greatly appreciated by someone who is in a position of authority. However, the solar eclipse, which occurs on the 4th, is in the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius energy has a kind of commonality to your sign. It loves freedom, can be frank, a very independent spirit. But this particular one links to your traditional ruler of Saturn. But because the solar eclipse energy lasts for 6 months, you're going to benefit from the solar eclipse for the first 5.5 months of 2022. So expect to be forging even more productive connections to quite a few new people over this next 6-month period. Now it is true to say that on the 11th, Venus and Pluto come into a direct conjunction. Pluto is about power, Venus is about love, relating and money. You put the two together and then in your case your 12th solar house, this suggests that there could be something that surprises you around a relationship or even around finance this month. But you know, it could be that somebody is going to get in touch with you, and just who could absolutely astonish you. It may be someone that you thought was permanently out of your life. Maybe it was their choice to move on, but whether you accept them back into your world is another matter. And this is where Pluto brings a great deal of extra potency to any kind of relationship. If there is a weak romantic relationship going on in your situation as we come into this month, it can only be truthful. If you can't see a future for this tie, the solar eclipse and the combination of Venus and Pluto and the authority of Mars may see you make a very difficult decision, even if you decide not to make it absolutely or action it this month because of the sensitivities of the Christmas period. If something isn't working, it really can be something that is very difficult to disregard. But if someone, a friend, a family member, an old partner gets in touch and it's something that you've wanted to happen, it can give you a lot of uplift. If you're not so sure, it can create some complex politics. On the 13th, Mercury moves into your 12th house to join up with Venus and Pluto. Mercury in the 12th house can see us feeling a little bit kind of detached from people, but Mercury is about talk and thought, communication. The 12th house is about personal reflection. So your thinking can get deeper, and you may actually embrace the more traditional part, the more spiritual dimension of this season, and do something to help those who are less fortunate, because Mercury in the 12th house can see you thinking a lot about those who don't have it so easy. But it could also see you withdrawing a little bit, but maybe not, because Mars on the same day replaces Mercury in your sector of friendship and sociability, yes, Sagittarius. And Mars is okay in Sagittarius. After all, it governs the third decan of this sign, the last 10 degrees. So Mars in Sagittarius is very hale and hearty. So I think the combination of having Venus, Pluto and Mercury in the 12th, and the Sun for now and Mars in your 11th, is that you're going to want to socialise, but only with people who you really feel at ease, comfortable and secure with. So if you're someone who takes your friendships very seriously, as I do, you may want to set your boundaries quite firmly, but with the people you have a spiritual connection with, this can be a marvellous time for you, to be perfectly honest. Now from the 16th through to the 21st, there's a fantastic link between Jupiter in your sign and the Sun in Sagittarius. Jupiter rules Sagittarius as well as Pisces, so there's a receptiveness between the two signs. Remember I said the commonality, the freedom loving, the independent nature, being quite frank about points of view, very similar between Sagittarius and Aquarius. But for you, Sagittarius is about the future, and Jupiter is about what you're manifesting as an individual. So something truly wonderful can happen from the 16th to the 21st. The full moon of the 19th in your sister air sign of Gemini suggests that you could have a few decisions to make in terms of who you're spending time with, because quite a few people may want a piece of you, which is very gratifying, of course, but with Venus going retrograde the same day, that need to really have quality over quantity is going to be emphasized. The Sun moves with the winter solstice on the 21st into that reflective area to join with Venus, Pluto and Mercury. Now I find usually after about the first week of December every single year that I go more withdrawn. When I was younger, up until I was 30, my progressed sun was in Aquarius, but then it moved into Pisces. So for a very long time, my life was a little bit like the hermit in the tarot. Now, I don't know how it is for you, because that is very much based on my chart, which has a lot of Aquarius, but I also have Mercury in Capricorn. But I always go into sort of like a cocoon a little bit, and I find the sociability of Christmas actually quite challenging, but then I emerge from that once the sun moves into Aquarius, usually around, last year it was the 19th of January, but usually around the 20th or 21st of January. So I don't know how it is for you, but I think the sun moving into that area does point towards feeling quite sentimental, quite sensitive, wanting to perhaps rest, conserve, think very deeply about maybe, you know, the more tender elements of this particular season, whereas other people can be very jolly and want to get together and socialise a lot. I've personally found that a little more challenging, but it just depends on your unique natal chart, because on the 24th, Saturn and Uranus, the two co-rulers of Aquarius, come into conflict, and if there is something very tender around a family situation, I think you're going to feel it on that day. However, the 25th provides the potential for redemption. Venus connects with Pluto exactly again, and maybe you can kind of come to terms with some of the things that have been very difficult over the last few years, as that collective in energy, the solar eclipses, the axis between Cancer and Capricorn, plus Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto all together in Capricorn, That was very difficult for a lot of Librans and a lot of Aquarius people. So maybe there can be a come into terms with some of the wounds or painfulness of certain strands of that period, or maybe you just want to rest up, watch some good movies, just have some time if you're lucky enough not to have to work, to have some well-deserved duvet days. But if you are someone who's really interested in the spiritual dimension, this could be a very moving and sentimental Christmas time. The 29th also brings some wonderful potential for you, and that is for an improvement in your finances, because Jupiter moves back into the sign of Pisces. From the 15th of May, it went there. It came out on the 28th of July and went back into Aquarius. So they need to keep working on the individual ideas, creativity and so on. Also, Mars forges a very structured link with Saturn towards the end of this month, which can be very helpful too. So even if it feels that you do want to step back a little bit, have some time to quietly rest, there are other things permeating in your situation that can delight you. So there could be some real wonderful financial news as the year comes to a close, or you could emerge a little bit from that more reflective vibe and want to join in and make merry. And Jupiter in the second house makes it very difficult to resist even the slightest calorific goodie. Do I have Jupiter in the second house? Because I find it very difficult to resist any calorific goodie at any time. I think it's my Libran ascendant, because Librans have a sweet tooth. My Jupiter is actually in the first house. But seriously, I think you could enjoy the more social elements of this festive season more on New Year's Eve than on Christmas Day, which I think will be quiet but a very gentle occasion and potentially very uplifting. So with that square between Saturn and Uranus, I know from doing my one-to-ones with Aquariuses all year, it really has been tough for a lot of us. It's going to go on and sort of be washing around in the background within 3 degrees up until about the end of February, and then it's done. It is, though, going to be in the solar returns of a lot of Aquarius people, probably most of us, within a few degrees. So it is still going to be a feature of next year, but the worst is definitely going to be over this month. But that combination between Venus and Pluto is complex, can bring rewards for past hard work. If you've really dedicated yourself to help others, some unexpected karmic payback can happen this month, which can delight you. Those links can be very heartwarming, but equally I think you may want to winkle out of your world the people you can't really trust. But what that glorious solar eclipse is saying to you, if you're looking future forwards with a real positivity of what the next year will bring, I think you can roar into 2022. Yes, you need to be aware of the politics and the emotional sensitivities, your raw spots, vulnerabilities, all the things that have been rich lessons, but sometimes difficult lessons to go through in recent years. But that solar eclipse is supremely supportive. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas time and a happy New Year. Take care and goodbye.